Hey guys, I want to welcome you and let you know how great it is to have you here for the Greater Purpose Podcast.
What's up? Welcome to the Greater Purpose Podcast from the Cubs Room. Here we are in the Cubs Room. And again, I don't think I told my producer about this one, so he's not here. Anyway, those of you who watch the podcast know we have a little running gimmick about my producer. But Stephen Wright, he's a great guy. He was the inspiration behind the Greater Purpose Podcast. So if you guys will like and share, and something about hitting a bell, I still don't know where this bell is on YouTube. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
He knows.
I do.
You're the first one.
Yeah.
So where's the bell?
The bell should be on the bottom left of the screen.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, hit the bell.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. I mean, you hit the bell. Anyway, yeah, Steve told me that last time, and I'm telling people to do it. Now I can go hit the bell.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like a like, or like
Okay.
it makes you aware that somebody has watched and connected with you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
so I thought that. So even if you subscribe, you can still do the bell.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love it. Great. See, this is why we have wonderful guests in here to tell us what's going on with our podcast. So, but anyway, before we get started, don't forget to go to bwasap.com. You can link to everything there, including our next Secretary of State, and his name is Chad Brown.
Chad Brown. Oh yeah.
Right. Chad Brown.
Fourth name down. Chad Brown.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, you can link to that. You can link to other podcasts. You can link to, if you like Avon, we have ladies that watch, and men use some Avon stuff too. My wife, my executive producer, who is my wife, is an Avon rep. So you can link to. Hey, you're gonna.
And I'll tell you, I grew up. My grandmother was a firm believer that skin's so soft, like you'd
Yeah.
solve anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great promo for that. So, all right. So that's the thing. That's the main thing. I was told that we're probably going to retire Mr. Rogers after today because you can't hear him. Now we can hear him. So if I press, let's see if I can get really close to here. I don't like that.
Doesn't it feel good when you're just about to do something
No, I don't like
you
that.
care is one way to show your love. Another way is letting people take good care of you when you need it.
No, I
I like
don't like
to
that.
think of all kinds of helpers in our
No,
world.
there's a thank you.
No person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
See, there's there.
That's a classic one
No
there. Yeah.
person in the whole
Yeah.
world likes you, and I like you just the way you are.
Yeah.
But I've been told that we cannot hear him very well. He was a great Christian man, great example. But I think this is the retirement for Mr. Rogers. So just so you know that. So all right. So we're going to get started here. The Greater Purpose Podcast, and our guest today is Chip Harrison. So glad
Thank
to
you,
have
sir.
you, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I've watched and I've been a fan, and knowing you on a personal basis, it was an honor to get invited.
We're
Yeah,
great. We're glad to have you here. We always converse a little bit beforehand. We have to stop our conversations sometimes beforehand, because then we're going to spill into something that we might talk about on the podcast. And we like for this to be natural and open and everything like that. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our very first question, the most difficult question of all. And we know none of us have attained. We're not there yet. Don't get us wrong. We're not being prideful, but we're trying to walk the godly walk that Christ wants us to. So when did you first realize the importance of attempting to become a godly man?
I'll be honest with you. It happened twice.
Okay,
and here's why I say that. Most people don't know this. I was raised by my grandparents.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
You're supposed to tell about him first. I jumped right to the question.
That's okay. No, good.
I was talking so much beforehand.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be raised by my grandparents. Their names were Zimmy and Juanita Harrison. And my grandfather and my grandmother instilled in me very early on that, the idea of religion and how important it was, and going to church and being a man of faith, and I saw it in them, and I always wanted to emulate them and be with them and be like them, because I thought the world of them. In high school, college, I kind of forgot, I guess, or lost my path for a little bit.
Pentecostals call it backslid.
Yeah, and I came back around to it. For those of you who don't know, I work as a criminal defense attorney here in town, and I came back around to it whenever I actually changed the practice that I was doing from construction and insurance defense and went into criminal defense.
Okay.
I became abundantly aware, and we can talk about this later, about how important it was for me when I'm representing my clients to be a person of faith and to have the ability to hopefully reintroduce them to faith and to God and to finding those things in their life to hopefully maybe make a change.
Oh, that's great.
So I think that the time that it hit me was sitting in a holding cell one time, and like I said, we can talk about this later. I think there's a good question. There's a good question coming up about people who influenced your faith. There's a young man. His name is Benji Mack. So when you talk about people who influenced faith, Benji Mack grew up beside me. Mm-hmm. We went to the Gingerbread preschool together. We went to elementary school together. We went to junior high together. Mm-hmm. In high school, he transferred out after 10th grade. One of my first criminal assignments, I get this file on my desk. It says Benji Mack.
Oh, wow.
Just by God. It was just by God.
Yeah.
I went down to see him in the jail. I sat in front of this man now that I had known all my life. And he looked me dead in the eye for the first 2 minutes and didn't recognize me at all.
Oh, wow.
He had went down the path of addiction because he had had some accidents and some other issues going on. About 10 minutes in, I reintroduced myself to him, and he just started crying.
Wow. Yeah.
I talked to his mother. We got him into a rehabilitation. We got him back into some other things. So he was sober for 7 years, 7 years, and back into his daughter's life before a drunk driver took his life. And his mother called me on the day of his funeral and said, "I can't thank you enough for giving my son back to me, and I know that I know where he is now thanks to you." And so so whenever I talk about people who inspired my faith, I think about Benji Mack, and I'm like, you know what? I became a better follower. I became a better Christian because of serving somebody who wasn't.
Wow. There you go. Yeah, that's great. That's cool.
So
wow, that is okay. Thanks for coming. And that's a great. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, when we talk about people who influenced my faith, I'm like, God, there's so many, but
we're supposed to be serving everybody,
right?
And there's a commercial on XM Family Talk, and it says serving people, serving your neighbor, serving that neighbor.
Right.
So what they're pointing out is like what you're saying, the person that you don't want to serve, right?
Right.
So great, yeah.
Well,
or not don't want to, but somebody that you have to stretch to serve.
Well, and it taught me the lesson that, a lot of the people I represent are just like me in how they were brought up. They have just lost their way.
Yeah.
And, like he was my neighbor.
Yeah.
He was a guy I played with.
Right.
And so
that really struck.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it now. In my faith, in my beliefs, I'm not necessarily here just to be a good steward. I'm here to help others find their way.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Talk about a greater purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. So, was he your biggest inspiration?
No. Well, I don't know about my biggest.
Somebody else that was.
Yeah. My grandfather, his name is Zimmy Harrison. When I was young, I will say I thought that he was a good man who had faith. And as I became a teenager, 13, 14, I started to realize that he was a good man because of his faith.
Yeah.
And I've never met somebody who practiced humble servitude more than him. And I refer to him, and a lot of his friends would refer to him as a simple man. He was a simple man. He was a setup man in a textile mill. He loved working in a wood shop.
Mm-hmm.
He was thankful for what he had, but always worked diligently. He was always at Sunday school, always at church, would help.
You said a quote earlier of his that what was it about attaining?
Oh,
yeah.
You
said it before in the podcast.
Yeah, like he said, my grandfather would say things, and one of the 1,000 things, and one of the things that he would always say, he's like, please make sure that you understand the difference between what you want and what you need.
Yeah.
And he said, because be thankful for what you have, because it's those desires and those needs that might lead you astray.
So simple, but so true.
Yeah, and he
Sorry, I didn't mean to say
no.
Yeah.
He I would say he was the one who I can remember him taking me to Sunday school class, and I would be sitting in the young men's group with him, or the men's group as he would teach it. But he was, I guess the best way to describe Zimmy and my grandfather was a simple man who was a servant first.
Mm-hmm.
And I always appreciated that about him, and it gave him a humbleness that I've always admired. And he always, like, my grandparents didn't have to take me in, but they did. And he did it because it was the right thing. And he did it because it's what he was called to do. And he, never batted an eye and, at it. And, I think that he was a deacon in the church, and he was just a man who, he changed lives by just the way he carried himself. Nice. And he's probably my biggest influence in faith, because, he was, God-fearing, as he would say, and he was respectful, and he was
God-fearing. That's good, because a lot of time everybody talks about God loving. I love Jesus Christ. I love God. God-fearing.
Yeah.
We've stopped fearing God, I think.
Oh yeah. He he was he's like you don't, and here's another thing he said, and he was like, he goes, you don't, he called me Bub. He's like, Bub, he goes, people talk about fear all the time and how bad fear is for you. Yeah. And he goes, you know what's keeping you from sticking your finger in the light socket? Like what? He goes, fear. That's good. And so he goes, same thing goes with God.
That's good. Yeah. Fearing. Yeah. So how do you feel like, besides impacting Mac? What was his first name?
Benji Mac.
Benji Mac.
Yeah, Benjamin Mac. Yeah.
Benji Mac. Besides, I mean, it sounds like that's how you're affecting and building into other men's lives, men that are misguided and misdirected. Are there other ways that you would want to mention, or is that?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that the biggest thing for me is that, my grandfather used to say this, and I try to live by this, that, don't be so prideful that you can't stick out your hand and shake someone's hand, or don't be too good for a job, or don't feel like you're above or different than anybody else.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah, and so, I will say that, like, one of the things I have been working diligently for a number of years, I do these outreach programs, and like I will like put meals together, do all this other stuff, and I will like have conversations down in South Carolina. I own a small business in South Carolina as well, but we do these small men's gatherings and meals for men but we focus on, and this is kind of a different take on some of the things, we focus on men with families and the men who are struggling to provide for their families. Okay. And so, we do like little outreaches where, like, I might bring you a full meal for your family so that you can take it home. And
be the man that brought the. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention the business and the outreach by chance?
It's kind of, I do it through a place called Threshold Ministries, because they want you to take God over the threshold into your home.
Yeah, excellent. Good.
Yeah.
What's your business?
So
we don't mind.
No.
Plugs for business here.
Okay, so completely different dynamic. I own a dance studio. So when I was,
You said that like it was.
it's weird.
I know you do. So
Yeah. So the abbreviated story is that when I was 5 years old, I had an operation on my legs, and the doctors told my grandparents, hey, you need to put him into something that's going to strengthen his legs, or he's going to walk with a cane for the rest of his life.
Wow.
But you shouldn't probably do an impact sport or anything like that, like football. Right. And so they're like, okay, so they dumped me into dance.
Wow.
And I got lucky, and there was an old show here in Charlotte that was called Kids World.
Oh, okay.
And I became their entertainment reporter.
No way. Cool.
And then I got a little taste of that, and then I got a job when I was 13 years old out in Utah dancing at the American Freedom Festival.
Right.
And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And so I've done it all my life. And I had an opportunity about 15 years ago to have a studio down in Gaffney, South Carolina. And right now we have about 520 students and about 14 employees.
Name of the studio?
Southern Dance Academy.
Which, by the way, if you've watched my podcast, you know I've told you I cannot dance. I try to start dancing. My wife says, "No, please stop." I have 4 left legs, not just 2.
Yeah, I'm really bad.
So the guy that can dance and the guy that cannot dance.
Well, I'm really bad about like when I go out, if somebody goes, hey, will you dance? I'm like, no.
You really?
Because at this point, there's no winning for me, right? Like,
it was all about winning.
It's like either people are like, well, of course he dances okay because he's a dancer, or I thought he was going to be much better than that. So I'm like, no.
You don't want to be judged.
Right, exactly. Not for that. And now we've had that for about 15 years now that we've had the studio, and we've had a good bit of success. And we actually just, 2 of our dancers just booked a tour of Italy and Macedonia.
Oh, nice.
And then we got 2 other dancers that are going a couple other places. So it's been a blessing to us, and it's been an opportunity because I will be honest and say that I was raised by my grandparents. I've never met my dad. My mom kind of had some things that she had to take care of when I was 6 years of age, and I had my leg issues, and I grew up in a very modest household with my grandparents who were very loving. But I saw a lot of my friends, Benji Mack and some other ones, that got themselves in some troubles and went a different way. And I'm fully convinced that God put dance in my life, because if I would have not been at dance practice or on a trip or at a competition or at somewhere else, I'd be doing other stuff.
And that's cool. Yeah. So, okay. And the threshold, how often do you do the threshold ministry outreach?
Once every 2 months.
Okay.
We found that a lot of people, as far as that go, just aren't able to commit that kind of time. We ask for financial donations for that too.
Yeah. So, and I say this to not just guys, but people all the time. There's some place to serve out there for you.
Right.
There are ministries out there. People have their own ministry opportunities that they can jump forward into. So don't sit around and do nothing. God wants you to be serving. You need to be serving.
Well, and we were talking about this beforehand about, I was talking to you about the fact that the one thing that I always walk away from when I see you, meet you, talk to you, see you out, is just this admiration of, 1, you putting yourself out there, but 2, you offering an opportunity for men to have a brotherhood and have a support unit that embraces them, and what they're going through in life, but also does it in a way that strengthens and reinforces their faith. And because I think that men, unfortunately, a lot of times don't have that kind of support, because there's a lot of times supposed to be the stronger one, or supposed to be somebody who's able to withstand everything, and sometimes we just need, that reinforcement, that help, and that brotherhood. And you've done an amazing job, having opportunities, to meet, talk, socialize, and do it in a way that just reinforces all of us. And I mean, I have to give you a lot of kudos for that. Especially
not to be falsely humble or anything, but it's like we talked about before.
Yeah.
It's all we have talent, skills, and ability
Yeah.
that God's given us. Sometimes we use them properly, sometimes we don't. Sometimes God does let us, sometimes He doesn't.
Yeah.
So it is. We talked about this beforehand. It's so organic, the whole what you're talking about. So it's amazing to me as amazing to me as it is to you. And God is so gracious in allowing us, all of us, to share that. So. And a chance to let our hair down, which I was going to ask you. Your hair looks different today.
Oh,
You're not all slicked back.
yeah, no, I don't know. It changes, and but I tell people this all the time. As long as I still have it, I will let it change. As long as
it's my signature.
Yeah.
The forehead's getting a little bit bigger, but it's okay.
But talking about using your using your talents and your abilities. Like I said before. God will put us where He wants us to be when He wants us to be here. Yeah. You talked about the fact that, when you were earlier, maybe it wouldn't have been a good fit for you. Yeah. That's because God put you where He wants you to be, when He wants you to be there. And the fact, I have we all stress. We all have issues that, we all get concerned about what's going on. But I believe that, faith means that I trust that I will come through it, and that He has a better plan, and that I'll be where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And so, this whole control issue that a lot of us have is
not so much anymore.
Well, it's on us, right? Like, if we fully give in and if we fully have faith, then it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And all those years of serving. By the way, maybe you're not in the spot where you want to be right now serving, but if you're serving, you're going to learn from where you're serving now, so you can apply it later. And I can testify to that because there were so many different things I did that I was like, okay, I'm doing this because I feel like I should. I'm doing this because I know I'm supposed to serve. I'm doing this because it's a place where they need somebody.
Right.
But God takes all of that stuff and just plans it out, like you said, and lays it out. So cool. Yeah. All right, very good. So now you get to go to. You can pick 5.
Okay.
So you can mix and match. You can do couple from here, couple. We've changed this.
Yeah.
Used to be 5. You did the 5, and that was the 5.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be fast. We used to call it the fast 5.
Oh yeah.
My executive producer got upset with me. That's my wife.
Yeah.
She said, these guys have stuff to say, so we don't want to cut them off. Now, if you want to go boom, 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 that's fine. You can do that, but it's either way. So 5 men who've inspired you. You've already told us 2.
Yep. 5
women who've inspired you. 5 favorite heroes of the faith. They can be either biblical or, recent and alive now, or recently alive. Or 5 Bible favorites, which would be scriptures, books, verses, etc.
Right.
So where do you want to go with that?
All right. So let's kind of do it. Kind of a mix and match.
Okay.
First, talked about Zimmy a good bit. Yep. We've talked about Benji Mack.
Love the names too.
Yeah.
And Benji.
Yeah. Well, my grandfather was part Native American. That's part of part of where all this comes from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
By the way, I was not making fun of Chips. I love the slick back hair because I'm the hair guy. Somebody gave me a hat to wear during my campaign for Soil and Water.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, I can't wear the hat. I mean, when I'm
this is my calling card, right?
I can't walk in the room with a hat on. Nobody knows who I am.
Well, and you probably remember, like, when you met me, I probably had a little bit longer hair, right? Yeah. And so it changes. Yeah, it changes. And like, as long as it's still up there, I'm good with it. But anyway, Zimmy and Benji, Zimmy and Benji. But one person that I had an opportunity to meet one time that I watched on TV a lot when I was a kid was Billy Graham.
Yeah.
And
he comes up so many times.
He's just. I met him one time. My grandfather and grandmother took me to one of his events, and I don't know what it's like and what it would feel like to be in the presence, right? But I do understand what it's like to be in a room with a man that you just feel his presence coming through. Right? And that's how I equate Billy Graham. Like, it was like you could just feel his presence. And it was like almost like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Or how do I become that guy? Or
Right.
how is that? Like, it was just an amazing
Yeah.
thing. And his understanding of the human condition in relationship to like our, things with God, were just, just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next one I haven't spoken about at all. I had a professor in college. His name was Dr. Lou Bettino.
Okay.
I signed up for the class. It was actually a documentarian class that I was taking. I was trying to get some filler credit. He was a new professor to the school.
Documentarian.
Yeah, and I
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, I get into a class and I hear him speaking. I'm like, hold on, this is not a professor. This is something else. Come to find out, his doctorate is in theology, and all of the documentaries that he had done are religious based.
Wow.
And so I had a whole semester of theological documentary and stuff.
Yeah,
and he won a bunch of awards. He won Pulitzer and some other stuff. And he was a gentleman. And I remember the day he just sat there and he started speaking about like his brother, and he was using the term brother, but he was talking about like the people in the room and the men in the room and like all that stuff, and it's like, and it just, he profoundly touched us, and he would have the students over to his home, and he would cook for them, and he would off the books talk about theology, and about he would break down like, I know that this is what the science is.
Yeah.
But this is how the science works with theology. And I'm like, so it was, Dr. Lou Bettino, he still lives, I think he lives in Wilmington, North Carolina now. He's a great man.
Very cool.
And then the unsung hero, in my life that, I can't give enough credit to is Juanita Harrison, who was my grandmother.
Okay.
Juanita, gave me an understanding of what it was like to be loved unconditionally. Mm-hmm. She gave me an understanding of what it was like to be a woman of faith in a home of faith, and how that strength of a lady can sometimes bolster the man.
Sure.
And she,
great women behind the godly men that have come through here have just been amazing.
And she would, even when she passed away, and when my grandfather passed away, she was still present because she used to sew and do things like that. And the paw that we used on the caskets was one that she had made.
Wow.
And so, so she's another one who I can't discount or not. I can't, give enough. I just give credit to. And I'll be honest with you. And this is going to sound like the craziest thing in the world. My clients, I get it. They are in a bad place in their life. Mm-hmm. But like I said before, my grandfather and my grandfather was the guy who I wanted to be like, and he was a teacher, and so was Dr. Lou Bettino, and so was Billy Graham. My grandmother showed me the support. And then Benji Mack kind of transitioned me into believing that my purpose or why I am there is because I'm not sitting in judgment of anybody.
Right.
Whatever you've done, I understand could be good, bad, indifferent. It could be a lot of things, but that's not my place.
Yeah.
What my place is what do I need to do to give you the best opportunity to move forward and find your place in heaven, or find your place for the rest of your life.
Nice. Wow.
And so, that I don't sit in judgment of my clients. I just I'm there to be a steward to, like I say, he wasn't crucified alone. He was crucified with, so,
one believed and one didn't.
Yeah. And so, to me, I'm like, and then whatever my clients do with whatever I've done, that becomes on
That's
them.
on them. Sure.
Yeah, and so
Very cool.
so that's my clients in general, but Benji Max specifically is like the pillar of that. But yeah, so that's kind of
Nice.
like where I kind of stand.
Different array of inspirations. But that's what the greater purpose life is all about. I've never said that before. The greater purpose life.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. It's the different avenues, the different directions that God comes in and shows you and directs you. And I mean, that's cool. Very good. Nice. All right. Good. So now, before the closing, did you know that you said you're watching the podcast, so this won't be a surprise to you. You know you get parting gifts.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So, first parting gift is the one and only bottle of Mr. Bill's and Bill Ward Photography hand sanitizer. That's my shameless plug for my business. I told you we don't have any problem with shameless plugs. So there we go.
I appreciate it.
You get that very valuable bottle of hand sanitizer. And you get to choose a Lego superhero. And I just got a new shipment in. So you get, I mean, whoever's in here, there's everybody in here. There's everyone. I mean, Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man. I already have an Iron Man. Where'd my Iron Man go? Oh, here's mine. This is mine. You can't have him.
Oh, that's fine.
Right there. Okay. All right. Iron Man there. Okay. There's Captain Marvel. Haven't had her. Iron Man. Thor. Is that what's the guy's name that I always forget? My wife's favorite one on X-Men. You know, Wolverine.
Oh, Wolverine. No, I think I'm going to go. You said you had Batman? I think I'm going with
I
Batman.
do. I said that. Now I got to find him. I should have looked before I said that. I thought I had a Batman. See? We're trying to find Batman.
Oh, that's a
creepy looking.
that's a bad guy.
Some of these I got to get rid of. I don't have a Batman. I guess not. Wait a minute. Hey, there's
that's War Machine.
There you go.
Yeah, hold on. What's this one?
That's
Oh no, Darth Vader.
It's like Darth Vader.
That's Darth Vader. That's me.
There's Star Wars in there.
Yeah, Darth Vader.
Oh, by the way, they're Lego superheroes, and you say he's not really superheroes, but you can have. So this is not going to work for that part. You say why a Lego superhero?
Why a Lego superhero?
Yeah. There you go. And the reason is because first of all, STEM, science, technology, engineering. You have to build the Lego superhero. Engineering, my class.
Oh no! Oh, he's down.
Don't knock the fan down. I'll head down. Anyway, and we believe that the men who come through here are superheroes. So that's why you get a superhero.
Well,
even though you took the villain.
No. But here's the thing. It's a story of redemption.
That's true. Yes.
And which is
when his head was on fire, he was redeemed.
Well, at the end, So we'll take the story of redemption.
We'll take that. Good.
Yeah.
And one more gift you get. I will autograph this before you leave.
Love it.
This is the one and only, not the one I got. He's looking at the drawer full. I will autograph this Willie Ace, Mr. Bill, official Chicago Cubs baseball card, and I will number it number 35. I think you are.
Wow,
isn't that awesome? Oh, and I got to show this one off from my friend Jake, the only other autographed person who's ever been on the podcast who has their own card. Jake Brewer. He was the leprechaun for the Grizzlies. Did you go to the games? Yeah. So, but now he is a youth minister over at First Baptist in Stanley. But anyway, I'll autograph that before you leave. And so now you get to tell us. I'll bet you got a good one. What's your favorite? What's your sports related story? What do you got?
Okay, so this is related to sports, but kind of ties into some other stuff we talked about.
All right.
So one of my dance things that I did was I was asked to put together a group to dance with the Allman Brothers at the opening of the old Charlotte Coliseum when the Hornets first opened up with George Shinn, right? Okay. And so if anybody remembers this, if anybody's a local who kind of remembers this happening, we danced the opening ceremonies and we opened up the Coliseum. Audience was packed. It was full and everything like that. We pack up, we leave. 2 hours later, I get a phone call. The scoreboard has crashed where we into the center of the
way.
floor where we were dancing.
Oh, wow.
That night.
No way.
And if we would have been there 2 hours later, it would have
Crushed
decimated everybody. So that's not a great sports story, but it's very
But it's
interesting.
related to the Hornets, yeah.
But I will also
crazy.
I will also say this, that I have had the opportunity, a very lucky opportunity, to travel and dance with the and choreograph for the first version of the Hornets, the George Shinn version,
Oh, okay.
before they moved to New Orleans.
Oh, good.
So,
Okay, yeah.
so I did get to do that, and I met and knew Muggsy Bogues really
Nice.
well,
Oh,
and
cool.
Del Curry, and
Really? Nice.
all that, and so that was a really kind of a cool moment in time for me, because
neat.
I was not athletically enough to inclined to do all that stuff, but yeah.
you could dance better than them.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say,
Hey, we should do that. We should make him do a dance right now.
yeah, let's not do that. I was gonna say you lose all credibility. It's like the only thing that people
Fred Astaire.
the only thing that people will be talking about is it was great up until.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Cool. Chip, listen, man, I really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank
Thanks
you so
for
much
being
for
on
having
the
me.
Greater Purpose Podcast. Make sure you like and share and hit the bell. Now we know where the bell is. And we appreciate you guys out there. God bless and have a great time.
Thank you so much.